Most American gardeners over 60 have been told the same lie. That real food requires a backyard, raised beds, and a younger body than the one you woke up with. That pots are decoration, not production. Every word is wrong. The right pot, the right soil, the right vegetable, and a single container outproduces a row in a raised garden bed. I have the data. The notebook goes back to 1989. 15 vegetables that change the math. Number 1 fits in a hanging basket and outproduces a 50-foot row of the same plant in the ground. Stay with me. The reason this works is not magic. It is biology, geometry, and a few decades of stubbornness about writing things down. A vegetable plant in a garden bed shares root space with everything else around it. Weeds, tree roots from 3 yards over, compacted clay underneath. The plant spends most of its energy fighting for water and nitrogen against neighbors it never agreed to live with. The same vegetable in a 12-inch container has none of that. The roots get the entire pot to themselves. The soil is whatever you put in there. The water goes only where you put it. The fertilizer feeds only the one plant. What the soil scientists at Cornell Extension figured out decades ago is something most home gardeners still resist. A vegetable in a good container with the right soil can outproduce the same vegetable in average backyard ground by 2 or 3 to 1. For some of the plants on this list, it is closer to 5 or 6 to 1. The notebook starts at 15. Number 15, snow peas. Snow peas grow up a string or a small trellis instead of out across the ground. For someone past 60 whose knees do not bend like they used to, that geometry is the entire game. A 5-gallon pot with a 3-foot trellis can hold 6 plants. Each plant produces between 30 and 50 pods over a 4 to 6 week harvest window. It is a cool spring crop, dormant in midsummer heat, then a second crop in early fall, if you reseed in late July. Varieties. Oregon Sugar Pod 2 is the AAS winner. I want to say 1980, but the date in the notebook is from when I first wrote it down, not from the award announcement. Sugar Ann is the bush variety, only 18 inches tall, perfect for a small container with no trellis at all. Mammoth Melting Sugar is the heritage Chinese variety with the tenderest pods. A bamboo stake or a piece of garden twine tied between 2 stakes is all the support a snow pea plant needs. They climb on their own through curling tendrils, so you do not have to tie them up. Eat them off the plant. Snow peas lose half their sweetness within 24 hours of harvest. The grocery store version is a different vegetable from the one you grow yourself. Number 14, radishes. 25 days from seed to harvest. There is nothing else in the vegetable world that fast. Drop the seed in an inch of damp potting mix at the end of March. By the 3rd week of April, you are pulling pink and white globes the size of a quarter out of the pot for the salad bowl. Replant the empty spaces immediately. A single 12-inch pot can produce 4 to 5 rotations of radishes between April and the first hard frost. The catch is that radishes do not transplant. They have to be direct seeded where they will grow. Most vegetable beginners try to start them inside, and the roots come out forked and stunted. Drop the seed in the pot. Walk away. Varieties include Cherry Belle, the classic AAS winner from way back. The original date was 1949. French breakfast is longer shaped and milder. Easter egg mix gives you purple, pink, and white in the same packet. For fall planting in cooler climates, watermelon radish is a Japanese variety with green skin and a bright pink interior, a different vegetable altogether from the spring radish you know. A small detail in the seed catalogs almost nobody reads. The leafy tops of radish plants are themselves an edible, peppery green. Sliced thin into salad, they taste like a milder version of arugula. No grocery store sells them. Walk past the compost pile next time you pull radishes and bring the leaves into the kitchen. Number 13, lettuce. Loose leaf lettuce was bred for exactly the kind of harvest pattern that containers reward. Pull individual outer leaves by hand or snip them off near the base. The plant builds replacement leaves from its central crown within 5 to 7 days. A single 12-inch pot planted in early April will deliver fresh salad greens for the entire spring. A pot holds 6 to 8 lettuce plants at the rim. Across a season, late April through June for the first run, and September into November for the second. That one container produces somewhere between 3 and 5 pounds of cut leaves total. Varieties. Black Seeded Simpson is the old American standard. It has been in seed catalogs since the 1870s, and I have a packet on the shelf right now. Buttercrunch is the AAS winner from 1963, if you want something with more body to the leaf. Salad Bowl is the cut and come again champion of the green leafy types. Lettuce hates summer heat. The plant bolts to seed once daytime temperatures stay above 85 degrees Fahrenheit for more than a week, and the leaves turn bitter within days of bolting. Move the pot to part shade in July. The portability of the container is the entire trick. You cannot do that with a raised bed. Number 12, garlic. The only vegetable on this list that you plant in October and harvest the following June. Hardneck garlic varieties. Music, German white, and Spanish roja do best in container culture. Plant individual cloves 3 inches deep in a 12-inch pot in October with the point side up. The cold winter triggers the bulb formation cycle. Green shoots come up in March. The plant looks unimpressive until late May, when something remarkable happens. A flower stem, the scape, rises straight up out of the center of the plant. It curls into a question mark. Snap it off. The plant redirects energy into the bulb instead of into seed production. That scape is a vegetable by itself, sliced into stir fries, sauces, or scrambled eggs with a milder garlic flavor than the bulb itself. There is a window of about 10 days in late May when scapes are tender. After that, they go fibrous. 2 weeks after harvesting scapes, the bulbs are ready. Pull them up, brush off the soil, and cure them in a dry, shaded place for 2 weeks. The papery skin tightens, the surface moisture leaves, and the bulb becomes shelf-stable. Properly cured garlic keeps in a kitchen pantry for 6 to 8 months without losing flavor. A 12-inch pot holds 9 cloves, which become 9 bulbs. Each bulb breaks down into 8 to 12 cloves. By June, a single pot has multiplied a packet of seed cloves into nearly 100 kitchen-ready cloves of fresh garlic, plus the scapes. Number 11, bush beans. Bush beans stay short, 18 to 24 inches tall, and they do not need a trellis. That single fact makes them one of the most container-friendly vegetables in any American seed catalog. Plant 6 seeds in a 15-inch pot in mid-May. By the first week of July, you are picking pods. A single plant produces over a 6-week window, and 6 plants in one container will give you 3 to 4 cups of fresh green beans a week through August. The variety that has stood up best in the notebook for container growing is Provider, bred in 1965 at the West Virginia Experiment Station for resistance to common bean diseases. Contender is a close second, slightly earlier. Royal Burgundy is purple podded, which looks like nothing else in the garden and tastes about the same once cooked. Succession planting matters with bush beans. Sow a fresh pot every 3 weeks from mid-May through early July. The earlier pots are finishing as the later pots are starting. Done correctly, you have a continuous bean harvest from July through the first frost in October. There is also a soil benefit nobody puts on the seed packet. Beans pull nitrogen out of the air through bacteria on their root nodules and fix it into the soil. The next crop you grow in that potting mix gets a head start, particularly tomatoes or leafy greens, which are heavy nitrogen consumers. Number 10, Swiss chard. Plant once in April. Harvest leaves from May through November. That is what Swiss chard does, and almost no other vegetable in American gardens delivers a 6-month productivity window from a single seeding. The harvest method is straightforward. Take the outer leaves with kitchen shears when they are 8 to 12 inches long. Leave the inner crown alone. The plant rebuilds from the center within a week, and the cycle continues without interruption until cold weather slows it down in November. A single chard plant in a 12-inch pot will give you 2 to 4 cups of cooking greens every week for the full growing season. 3 plants are enough cooking greens for a household. Varieties. Bright Lights is the All-America Selections winner, mixing red, yellow, orange, pink, and white-stemmed plants in one seed packet. Ford Hook Giant is the old American standard, with white stems and dark green leaves. Rhubarb Chard has crimson stems that look like nothing else in the late summer garden. Heat does not bother chard. Cold does not bother chard until the second or third frost. The stems, sliced thin and cooked separately from the leaves, hold a faintly sweet flavor that the leaves themselves do not. Nothing on the plant goes to waste. Number 9. Kale. If a vegetable could be designed for retired American gardeners, kale would be the result. It tolerates cold so completely that a hard November freeze actually improves the flavor. The plant converts starches to sugars as a defense, and the leaves taste sweeter. It produces continuously from June through the first heavy snow. Take the outer leaves with scissors, leave the center crown alone, and walk away. The plant pushes up new leaves on its own. Varieties. Lacinato is the catalog favorite. Red Russian is more tender, more cold hardy, and self-seeds if you let it go to flower at the end of the season. Winterbore is the curly-leafed cold champion that holds up under heavy snow. A single kale plant in a 15-inch pot can produce 2 to 4 cups of leaves every week from June to December. 3 plants on a patio feed a household for the entire growing season, which is more than most home gardens accomplish from 20 plants in the ground. The notebook entry from one of my Decembers shows kale leaves harvested at 28 degrees Fahrenheit, brought into a warm kitchen, and rinsed in cold water. The taste was sweeter than anything I had pulled in October. Cold concentrates the sugars. Most American gardeners pull their kale out at the first frost and never find out. The reason every recipe in this video works is the soil. Garden dirt, scooped out of a yard and dumped into a pot, will fail. The roots cannot breathe, the water does not drain, and the plant sits stunted by mid-July, no matter what variety you bought. The mix that is held up in the notebook for 35 years is simple. 1 part bagged potting soil, 1 part compost from a yard pile or a bag of OMRI listed certified compost, 1 part either perlite or coarse sand for drainage, by volume, not by weight. Mix it in a wheelbarrow or a clean trash can. A note on container size. Most container vegetable failures come from pots that are too small. Tomatoes, peppers, eggplants require a minimum of 15 gallons of soil per plant. Lettuce, herbs, radishes do fine in 12-inch shallow pots. The University of California Master Gardener Container Guide spells out the exact volumes if you want to look it up. A note on watering. Containers dry out faster than the ground. In July and August, that often means daily watering every morning before the sun gets above the trees. A self-watering pot or a simple drip irrigation timer eliminates most of the babysitting. It is worth the setup time. Now, the heavy producers. Number 8, cucumber. Bush varieties. Vining cucumbers in containers are a frustration. They sprawl. They fall over the pot edge. They tangle with the tomato cage next to them. The bush varieties were bred specifically to solve all of that. Space Master is about 24 inches tall, and it produces full-size slicing cucumbers. It was an AAS winner from 1980. Bush Champion was the AAS winner from 1990 with a similar habit. Salad bush produces 8 to 10-inch fruits on a compact plant that fits a patio. A single bush cucumber in a 15-gallon container can produce 15 to 25 fruits across the season. That is more cucumber than most households eat fresh, which means it is time to start pickling. Cucumbers want consistent water and consistent fertilizer. If either is irregular, the fruits turn bitter at the stem end. A self-watering container helps if you travel during summer. The hardest part of growing cucumbers in pots is remembering to water them every day in July. Even the bush varieties benefit from a small tomato cage placed over the pot at planting time. The cage keeps the foliage off the ground and the fruit hanging cleanly. Disease rates drop. Harvest is easier. The whole plant looks intentional instead of accidental. Number 7, strawberries. Ever-bearing varieties. If you stretch the definition of vegetable to include strawberries, and most home gardeners do, they outproduce any actual vegetable on this list per dollar spent. Ever-bearing varieties change the game. Most strawberries fruit once in late spring, 3 weeks, done. The ever-bearing types produce from June into October. They were practically designed for hanging baskets and strawberry pots that hang from a railing. No kneeling, no bending. no garden tools required. Albion was released by the University of California, Davis around 2006, give or take a year. I have it in the notebook somewhere. Firm, dark red fruit all season, resistant to most of the diseases that hit June-bearing varieties. Seascape is another UC Davis release from the same era. Quinault is the older, ever-bearing standard for cold climates. A single Albion plant in an 8-inch container produces between 50 and 100 berries from June through frost. 3 plants in a hanging basket on a porch railing, and you have strawberries on the breakfast cereal most mornings from June to October. The trick with ever-bearing strawberries is the second year. They peak in year 1, pinch off runners, and replant fresh starts every fall for consistent production. In year 3, plants produce maybe half of what year 1 plants do. A note on winter. In zones 5 and colder, the pot needs to come into an unheated garage or basement once the leaves die back in November. Strawberry roots survive freezing soil in the ground, but they do not survive freezing in a small container where the cold reaches all the way through. Number 6, potatoes. Potatoes change how gardeners think about containers. The plant looks like nothing special above the soil, green leaves on stems, 18 inches tall, the occasional white flower. Underground is where the real harvest is happening. The technique that works is a 15-gallon fabric grow bag filled halfway with potting mix. Plant 3 to 5 seed potatoes at the bottom. As the stems grow, add more soil, burying the lower leaves every couple of weeks until the bag is full. This is called hilling. Every buried stem section produces new tubers along its length. One 15-gallon bag of Yukon Gold or German Butterball planted in April yields between 5 and 12 pounds of potatoes at September harvest. The notebook entry from one of my better years shows 9.5 pounds from a single bag. I think the year was 2017. The page is a little hard to read. Varieties matter more than most catalogs let on. Yukon Gold is the all-purpose American standard. German Butterball produces larger tubers with a creamier texture for mashing. Red Norland is the early producer if you want to harvest baby potatoes in late June instead of waiting until September. The harvest moment is part of the appeal. Tip the bag over, sift through the loose soil, and the potatoes come up clean. Number 5, sweet peppers, compact varieties. Standard bell peppers struggle in pots. The compact varieties bred for containers are a different category, and they outproduce their bigger cousins by a significant margin once you understand what they want. Lunchbox, an All-America Selections winner from 2014, produces dozens of small sweet peppers, red, yellow, and orange, on a plant under 2 feet tall. Mini Bell is the same idea, with slightly larger fruit. Sweet Banana is an old heirloom that loves a 15-gallon container and pumps out pepper after pepper from July to frost. A single lunchbox plant in a 15-gallon container can produce 40 to 60 peppers across the growing season. 3 plants, and you have peppers to give away. Peppers like heat. They do not start to produce in earnest until daytime temperatures are consistently in the 80s. Plant them outside 2 weeks after your last frost, not before. The plant that sits cold and sulks in May rarely catches up with the plant that went into warm soil in June. A small detail most gardeners never get to enjoy. Sweet peppers are far sweeter once they ripen from green to their final color, red, yellow, or orange, depending on variety. The supermarket sells green peppers because they ship better. Your container plants give you the option of leaving them on the plant for an extra 2 weeks until the color changes. The flavor jumps. Number 4, eggplant. Compact varieties. Most American gardeners who have tried eggplant in a regular bed have a horror story. Flea beetles, slow plants, fruit that never sets. Container varieties solve most of that. Patio Baby changed my mind about the crop. It produces dozens of small purple fruits, 3 to 4 inches long, on a plant under 18 inches tall. It was an All-America Selections winner in 2014. Hansel is similar, with slightly more elongated fruit. Fairy Tale is the lavender stripe variety that became the catalog darling around 2005. A single Patio Baby plant in a 10-gallon container can produce 30 to 50 fruits across a season. That is enough eggplant for a household, and small enough that you do not have to slice and salt them the way you do the big globe varieties from a supermarket. Eggplant is heat-loving, like peppers, and it has the same planting window. A 15-gallon container is even better than 10. The roots want room, and eggplant rewards it with continuous fruiting from July through the first frost. Small fruited eggplants are also a different culinary ingredient than the big globe types. You roast them whole, halve them lengthwise, brush with oil, and grill them in 5 minutes. 3 or 4 patio baby fruits make a side dish for a family. That changes how often you actually use the harvest instead of staring at it on the counter. Number 3. Zucchini. Of all the vegetables on this list, one carries a reputation across America for being aggressively productive in a way no other crop can match. One plant feeds a household, then a neighbor, and by August, neighbors start locking their doors when the zucchini bag shows up on the porch. The reputation is earned even in containers if you choose the right variety. Standard vining zucchini takes over an entire raised bed. The bush varieties were bred specifically for the container category. Bush Baby is an AAS winner from 2011 that stays under 3 feet tall. 8-Ball is a round, dark green zucchini that grows in a 15-gallon pot without sprawling. Patio Star is one of the newer compact releases. A single Bush Baby in a 15-gallon container produces 10 to 20 zucchini between July and the first frost. Pick them when they are 6 to 8 inches long. At 12 inches, the flesh turns spongy and the seeds harden. Letting one go to 12 inches is also the surest way to slow down the entire plant's production. The plant focuses energy on seed making instead of on new flower making. Variety choice changes everything with zucchini in containers. The wrong variety, a standard vining cultivar bred for in ground gardens, will sprawl out of the pot by July and stop producing in frustration. The right variety in the right size container with consistent water becomes the most prolific single plant in the whole vegetable garden. The notebook entry from one of my better summers, I think it was 2015, shows 23 zucchini from a single Bush Baby between mid-July and the second week of October. This is the crop that proves containers are not limited to small harvests. A single pot can quietly become more food than you know what to do with. Number 2, sweet potato. 2 crops from a single plant. The vine leaves are mild and tender, used in Southern American cooking and across most of East Asia, sautéed like spinach mostly. You can pinch leaves through the entire growing season without touching the tubers underneath. The plant keeps producing leaves all summer regardless. Then, in October, you tip the container over and the real harvest comes up. The tubers have been growing the whole time, hidden under the soil while you were eating the greens above. A 20-gallon container with 1 Beauregard or Georgia Jet slip produces between 8 and 15 pounds of sweet potatoes by harvest. The leaf harvest from the same plant produces another 2 to 4 pounds of greens over the same period. The notebook entry from one of my better years shows 13 pounds of tubers from a single bag. I think it was around 2019. The ink ran a bit, and the year is a little blurred. Sweet potatoes love heat. Plant them after the last frost, when soil temperatures stay above 65 degrees Fahrenheit. They are slow to start. The first month looks like the plant is doing nothing. By July, the vines are running. By September, the tubers are sizing up underground without any visible signal above the soil. Slips, not seeds. Sweet potatoes are grown from rooted shoots called slips that you order from a nursery in spring or sprout yourself from a grocery store. Sweet potato suspended in water on the kitchen windowsill. The slips arrive looking like sad green sticks with a few leaves. Plant them deep, water them in, and they recover within 10 days into vigorous, spreading vines. Storage matters with sweet potatoes more than with almost any other container vegetable. After harvest, cure the tubers in a warm, humid space for 10 days. The skin toughens, small surface cuts heal over, and the starches start converting to sugars. A properly cured sweet potato keeps through the winter in a cool, dark pantry. Number 1. Cherry tomatoes. Determinate and patio varieties. the one that fits in a hanging basket and outproduces a 50-foot row of the same plant in the ground. Cherry tomatoes occupy 3 full pages of my notebook. Varieties, container sizes, fertilization schedules, yields recorded over the decades. Of all the container vegetables I have ever grown, this category produces the most food per square foot of patio. The determinate and patio varieties were bred specifically for pots. They stay short, 3 to 4 feet tall. They do not need staking like indeterminate slicers, and they produce in clusters of 15 to 30 fruits at a time, ripening continuously from July through the first frost. Tumbling Tom Yellow and Tumbling Tom Red were bred for hanging baskets, and they cascade over the rim. Tiny Tim is the dwarf classic, 18 inches tall, and produces in a 1-gallon pot. Patio Princess is a slightly larger determinate that holds itself upright without a cage. Sun Gold is the orange-yellow heirloom that tastes like candy, and it continues producing into late September if the weather holds. A productive Tumbling Tom in a 10-gallon pot, fed with consistent water and a balanced organic fertilizer once a week, will produce between 150 and 300 cherry tomatoes across a season. From one plant. From a pot, you can move with one hand. That is the most yield per square foot result the notebook records. The notebook entry from one of my better years shows 287 cherry tomatoes from a single hanging basket between July 15th and October 20th. I weighed them, just over 4 pounds of fruit from a pot that took up 2 square feet of porch railing. The same variety planted in a row in average backyard soil, competing with weeds, drying out between rains, losing fruit to ground rot, and fighting off squirrels, does not match that output, not even close. The biology behind this is straightforward. Cherry tomatoes are determinate or semi-determinate, meaning they set a finite number of flower clusters and then ripen them sequentially. In a pot with consistent water and steady nutrition, every flower has the resources to set a fruit. In an in-ground garden with variable conditions, half the flowers drop without setting. The math difference compounds across the season. That is why it is number 1. 15 vegetables, 3 rules, good potting mix, right pot size, don't overcomplicate it. Past 50, 60, and beyond, your back deserves to keep gardening. Containers were made for this season of life. Drop your zone below. Send this to one gardener who needs it.